All right, today training back and biceps with resistance bands. Little product plug here. It's my hydration product, Maverick. 23 vitamins, minerals, and electrolytes. You like that little plug? All right. So, first thing, going to warm up. Yesterday was chest and triceps. So chest is nice and tight right now. So that's going to pull you forward a little bit. Now we're about to do back. So it kind of turns into a bit of a tug of war. So I want to make sure that I loosen up the chest. So I'm going to just do some light push-ups here on the bench just to warm up the muscle before I go in and I start stretching. I don't like to stretch a muscle when it's cold. Not a good practice. I'm also going to grab the bands since we're using those today. Because I'm going to go right from a push-up into a banded press. Just get that muscle nice and warm. It's nice and controlled. Nice stretch here at the bottom. It's also a good gauge of how your chest and triceps workout was. Should be a little tight or sore. It's also why week 1 of this program did body weight stuff. Just gives you a good arsenal of movements that you can do because I'll incorporate a lot of body weight stuff into my warm-ups. All right, just gonna do one more. And then grab that band, wrap around my back. It's not a lot of resistance here, so what I'm thinking about is getting that mind-muscle connection, really actively contracting the muscle, not relying on the resistance, but just squeezing to the middle. Like I said, contract the muscle, get a squeeze here, almost like you're posing. Do that every rep. If you ever wonder what my favorite band of all time is, by far, Smashing Pumpkins. All right, one more. All right, so we have the chest warmed up. Let's warm up the shoulders a little bit with our arm circles. Nice and controlled. And go forward. Let's do one more. And I'm going to go backwards. There we go. So now we got his muscles warmed up a little bit. Actually, I was going to stretch, but before I do, we're going to do a couple more movements real quick. Let's do some internal, external rotation. Condition that rotator cuff. Warm up those smaller muscles. If you haven't seen me do these before, I'm just creating resistance with the opposite hand. So as I pull with my right, I'm resisting with the left. Now the opposite. Now with all our back movements, those rear delts are going to be firing, so let's warm those up as well here in a second with some pull-aparts. I'm going to grab a lighter band. And I'm just thinking about pulling out to the side. So I'm not thinking about backwards, out. One's going to go to that wall, one I'm focusing on that wall. Do 2 more. Nice. Now I feel like I'm ready to do a light stretch. Notice I'm not keeping my feet square here, turning my feet opposite direction. And that helps me get that stretch. I even think about pushing my hip forward a little bit. And that really opens up everything here in the chest. Oh, yep. All right, bring that arm across the body. Arms overhead. All right. Little BC boys. So, if you're following the PDF, if you downloaded it, if you haven't, you can find the link in the description. Had the most basic rowing movement, which was a standing bent over row, which looked like this, right here. So we're going to do a variation. I'm going to do a seated row. I'm going to do them right here. Actually, I lied. I'm going to do them right here. So you can do these a few ways. The most basic, you can anchor the band to itself, going right through it. That's a lark knot. When possible, I try to avoid this. It puts wear and tear on the bands. So this is actually an anchoring system that I created for Undersun Fitness. If you want, you can find them on Amazon. But what this does, this gives me a nice soft anchoring point. So now that band sits in there, it's got neoprene in there. So now, keeping that back nice and straight, even a little bit of an arch. We don't want to round forward. So think about chest up. Pull all the way back till your hands touch your ribs. Make sure you're grabbing close enough to this anchor point so you have resistance here at the beginning of the range of the motion. And then control that rep speed. Nice 1, 2 on the squeeze. Nice control of the eccentric. And 2 more. All right, so that was 12. That wasn't bad. I made it harder by really focusing on a good squeeze. It wasn't quite enough resistance. So a couple of ways we can increase it. One, I can obviously go up to a heavier band, but another simple thing that we can do, and we'll see how this feels. We'll just anchor the band this way. So now, have twice the resistance. So we'll see how this feels for the next set. Let me do a test rep. Oh yeah. So before I do that, quick stretch. So whichever side that I'm holding on to this, a lot of times I'll come in here and I'll turn my feet into it and then drop that hip back. And I feel a nice stretch all the way from the top of the lats all the way down to the insertion. So you feel all the way down your side. Like this right here with my feet facing it, I don't really feel much. So turning into it, sit back. Nice. I grabbed some water. Now, I've said this before, stretching in between sets, I think is optimal. Not only is the muscle warm, but I think that we should spend an equal amount of time lengthening a muscle in a stretch as we do shortening a muscle with contractions in our set. All right. And you don't need a scientific study to see the kind of basic logic in that. All right. Here we go. Chest out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 more. 1 more. Nice. Now, doing it this way, I don't even really need this as long as whatever I'm wrapping the band around is smooth. Like this rack has rounded corners. There's nothing sharp here. So I could get away with doing this, but I still prefer not to. I don't like anything with corners just because the band is going to stretch more right at that point. There's more pressure in a very small area. So if this was a round bar, no problem. Like if you're, I don't know, at the beach or the park and there was a pull-up bar, that usually works really well. So if you want to make your bands last, you got to be really careful what you anchor them to, because at the end of the day, they're natural latex. You know, they're soft material. They're obviously, right, they stretch. So that also means you got to be careful. Otherwise, you'll get little tears and nicks in them, and eventually the band will fail. You know, they're not indestructible. So I didn't stretch. Probably do that real quick. as you're doing these, I want you to think about squeezing those shoulder blades together and driving the elbows back, as opposed to pulling your hands towards your torso. Drive those elbows. There's 8. 4 more. 9. 10. 2 more. 1 more. Oh, yeah. So there's a lot of different small variations you can make in a row. I could come up much higher and wider with the elbows. I can supinate my hands, meaning turn my palms up, and I can come lower, start to engage a little bit more of the lats that way. Or we can do what we did here, which is a more neutral position, both with the hands and with the elbows, which is what I prefer these days. I don't like as much of the exaggerated hand position or angles. I just find that that's the stuff that ends up tweaking something. It's just not worth it to me anymore. I used to do all these little tricks trying to better target a muscle, but I found that you just go in there and you do the work, the muscle's gonna work anyway. I just don't think it's worth it trying to do all these little nuances just for the sake of maybe getting a fractional better contraction. Like, our body is designed to work a certain way, to move naturally. And I think if we respect that, we'll have less wear and tear on our body. All right. So that was 3 sets, trying to keep 90-second rest periods between, keep it moving. So we're gonna come over to exercise number 2 with a pull down. So I'm going to show you the most basic way where we don't need any kind of anchoring system. I am going to throw it over this pull-up bar. This one happens to be smooth. There's no knurling on it, so there's no sharp edges that's going to break down the band. So I'm going to go ahead and anchor it right over the top. Now, if the bar does have some sort of knurling, all you have to do is take a towel or whatever you have, throw it right over the top, and that's going to protect your band. So we could do these sitting on this bench, but I'm going to pull it out of there so you see the most minimalist way to do this. We can grab it in here. I prefer slide my hands through there, grab it like this. Now I'm not having to rely on grip strength. And if I don't have to worry about grip strength, I can take my focus off of my hands and put more of my attention or focus on my elbows and driving them down, as opposed to thinking about my hands. Then I have a tendency to pull with my hands and use more biceps. So it's all about focus. So as far as front to back, I prefer to be back behind the bar a little as opposed to directly under it. Right about here. And then I'm going to think about driving my elbows out wide and down until I get a solid squeeze. Oh, get that little extra squeeze at the bottom too. Right there. That's 4. 5. 6, 7, 8, 4 more. 2 more. 1 more. So one of the big problems that I see in a gym when people are doing lat pull downs, they have a tendency to want to go way too heavy. I know that I did for years and years and years. So one, you end up relying on a lot of momentum. You see people kind of leaning back to initiate the movement, right? So they're getting that weight stack moving, creating momentum. So cheating by doing that. But then when it's so heavy that you can't get past here, you just don't get as good of a squeeze. So the nice thing about the bands, they completely remove your ego from it, because there's no such thing as using such a heavy band that it looks super cool in the gym. So you kind of take the cool right out of it, and that forces you just to focus on feeling it and getting a good squeeze with every rep. And if you were to take that same mentality and bring that into your weight training, you're going to get better results. Let's get that quick lat stretch. I'm going to spin around here so you can see it from the opposite side. So the bands are almost like built-in wrist straps. All right, here we go. Make sure chin up. We don't want to round forward. Slight arch in our back, just a little bit. So I like to look up with these. Drive the elbows out wide and then down. Four more. 1, 2. One more. All right. So I talk about driving the elbows out wide. Here's one of the things I like about that. If I think about keeping those elbows closer to my body, look at the movement at the elbow. See how much movement we're getting here? The more movement at the elbow, the more we're using our biceps to assist. So if we think about coming out wider, look how we've minimized that movement at the elbow. So this helps me particularly focus more on the back, because I used to have a tendency to overpower with the biceps because they were always strong. That was just a strong body part for me. And so it really made it challenging for me to really get that good mind-muscle connection, that good squeeze in my back. So little tricks. I've said the opposite about presses. If I stay in tight like this, again, look how much movement at the elbow, ton of triceps. So if I want to focus a little bit more on the delts, I like to keep them out a little bit wider and minimize that movement at the elbow a little bit. The compound movements, so in a press, you're still going to be using triceps. We're just trying to minimize it. Pull down, compound movement. We're still going to be using biceps, just trying to minimize it a little bit. And for some of my beginners out there, the basic definition of a compound movement versus an isolation movement. An isolation movement is going to be movement at one joint. So triceps pushdowns is an example. That's an isolation movement for triceps because we're only moving at the elbow. A chest press is a compound movement because we're moving at the elbow and the shoulder. So now it's triceps, it's chest, it's anterior delt. So that's the basic definition. How many joints are moving? Same thing for legs, a leg extension, isolation for the quads, a squat, movement at the knee and hip. Now it's quads, glutes, hamstrings. All right, here we go. One more. Controlling those rep speeds. Nice. Whew. Do want to say thank you for all the positive feedback. Doing these videos just to share. They're not being monetized in any way. Just for the purpose of keeping myself accountable with my own workouts and sharing at the same time. So the comments actually mean a lot. I do try my best to get in there and respond. So it's nice to see, more of the positive stuff. Every once in a while you do get, some of the retarded comments in there. Try not to let it ruffle my feathers anymore. One thing that I'll say is, when I see a comment, like for example, someone said, "Hey James, don't forget to, train legs." You have to remember that we have to refrain from judging other people when we don't know anything about them. We don't know anything about their situation. And, for me, I doubt that person knows that I went through a heinous car accident, crushed both my femurs, broke my hip, etc. So for me to do any kind of leg training, I think is a miracle. So, but I'm not going to go into a comment and try to defend that. I just chalk it up to that person doesn't know anything about me. So I use it as an opportunity for my own personal growth. Because when I was younger, I had a tendency to be pretty judgmental. Well, if I were in your shoes, I would do this, I would do that. But I'm not in that person's shoes. All right. So we're going to move to curls. It's both back and biceps today. Move this bench back in. Speaking of personal growth, I think one of the interesting things for me about doing these videos uncut, full length, is knowing that there's going to be things where maybe I have a brain fart, I slip, I say the wrong thing, maybe I make an ass of myself, you know, saying something. And that's okay, you know, we don't have to be perfect. And there's this tendency to want to try to be perfect on social media. And I think for me that was a real hang up. You know, I would always like really pour through videos and, you know, put that extra attention into editing them just to make sure I didn't say the wrong thing. Now it's like, fuck it. If I say something stupid, please forgive me. All right, I think I'm gonna step up a band here. Standing biceps curls. Actually, we're gonna do something different. Last time we did a regular standing curl, which looked like this. So we're going to do a concentration curl. I want to give you guys some different options. So stepping on it with one foot, on top of it with the other foot, and now look at this angle of pull with the band. It's perfect position, especially if I widen my feet here, to do a concentration curl. That's 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 4 more. 1. 2. 3. 1 more. Next set, I'm going to show you some different options. Like a lot of people don't like holding onto the band. They say it hurts their hand. My hands are so banged up and calloused. Doesn't really matter to me, but I do get it. It can be uncomfortable sometimes, which is why I also recommend wearing like full finger gloves with the band sometimes, but I'll show you some other options here. No. All right, so whichever arm we're gonna curl with, we step on it with that foot. Nice controlled eccentric or negative, and a controlled squeeze or your concentric. That's 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. So you have your 3 different contractions. Shortening a muscle, that's your concentric. You have your isometric, your squeeze there, and then you have your eccentric or the lengthening of the muscle. I like to maximize all 3 of them. So controlled squeeze at the top. I try to get that little extra isometric squeeze and then control that negative. So 2 different things we can do here. I'm going to show you both. I should be stretching here, but we're going to take the time. I'm gonna get right behind you. Oh, no, they're right here. All right, 2 options. First one, any kind of, the name brand that started this was Fat Grip, but these are meant to go around a bar. But you see how it's got a slot in there, it makes it easy to slide a band in. So we'll do set number 2 this way, and then set number 3, I'm going to show you another option where we can use a handle. So slide that band right in there. Now the only reason I don't like these for some exercises is I like being able to grab the band in different places to create tension. But in an exercise like this, where I can stretch the band depending on my foot position, now I've got plenty of tension. So this works well in this situation. And then I can adjust tension with narrowing my feet, making it easier, or wider to make it harder. It's all about how much you stretch that band. Right. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, one more, 12. Now when it comes to doing unilateral work, meaning one side at a time, it's nice from a focus perspective. The downside is it takes twice as long. So I try not to do too many exercises like this in a total workout. Otherwise, it just drags the whole workout too long. All right. That's 6. Got 6 more. 8, 9. Can't wait till the set's over so I can change this song. One more. Nice. All right. Third option. So this is a little product plug. So this is part of that same anchoring system. So this is that strap with the neoprene padding on there. So I can come in here. I have to fix my carabiner. All right. So now the band's anchored to that. Now I can attach something like a handle, just like that. And now we can use a regular handle. You notice I didn't really rest because we don't need to. This arm already rested while we were doing the other side. 10. 2 more. One more. Now there are handles out there, metal ones. It's a metal handle and then it's got like a J hook on it. I've never really cared for them much because of the small surface area of that hook. Again, where the band is sitting on that, it's stretching the band disproportionately. That area is stretching out a lot more, so has a tendency to weaken the band and shorten the lifespan. Ideally, the bigger the surface area that you can anchor it to, the better. One of the worst ones is the small carabiners. Like I see people using a carabiner this size with a band, and that's just going to make that band fail really fast. So I'm going to widen my foot position, a little more tension. Now I'm going to narrow my foot position. It's almost like a drop set, lowering the resistance a little. There's 8, 4 more. 2 more. This will be 12 right here. This felt good. I've had a biceps tendon issue up here at the labrum that's been really bothering me, and any kind of curl hurt for a long time, and those felt great. I gotta say, it's one of the things about bands that I really do love. It's like even when I've got an injury, it allows me to keep training, and it just doesn't put the same kind of stress on the body that free weights do. Don't get me wrong, I still love weights, but that's probably the one thing that I don't care for as much, as I just always seem to end up with nagging elbow pain, shoulder pain, knee pain. All right, so that was biceps curls. Now we're going to move on to, on the PDF I say reverse flies with a band. You could call them a pull apart. The only thing that I don't want you to get confused with, this is not a rear delt specific exercise. If we were doing a pull apart up high and pulling those elbows out to the side, I talked about this last week, while minimizing movement at the scapula. So notice my shoulder blades right here aren't moving as much as if I did this. See how my shoulder blades are pinching together here? If we want to target rear delts, stabilize the shoulder blades, come out wide towards the sides. If we want to train the back, we're going to pull a little bit lower, little bend in the elbow, and we're going to drive those elbows back, and you will see now I'm getting that movement at the shoulder blade, so really engaging some of those other muscles in the back, trapezius, getting those rhomboids. So, I'd rather go lighter and get a really good squeeze. When I go a little too heavy with the resistance, I just don't feel the same kind of contraction. So you can see that's narrower than shoulder width apart. Again, think about driving the elbows back. The band is going to come right across the bottom of your chest, and then squeeze those shoulder blades together. more. Nice. Stretch it out. So I was saying this in one of the past workouts, how you do a rear fly, it's going to really change the dynamic of the exercise and which muscle or muscles you're starting to recruit more. So if you're on a pec deck doing a reverse fly and you want to hit more of those rear delts, you don't have to come way back here. You don't have to do this. It's actually a pretty small range of motion. It's about there. Once we hit this point, any other movement is going to come from movement at the scapula. And that means now you're recruiting the traps, etc. So if the goal is just to focus on rear delts, think about coming out to the sides, you can stop right about there. If we want to work more of the middle back, that's different. Then we do want to get that movement there in the shoulder or the scapula. Now, don't get me wrong, there is no such thing as isolation, so it's not like you're just isolating the rear delts or just isolating the middle back. It's always going to be a combination of all of them. It's more about the priority. You ever say a word and it just starts to sound weird, like priority? Priority. Say it enough times, it just sounds weird. Priority. Okay, here we go. We are prioritizing our middle back. Three more. Oh, nice. Stretch it out. Just one more set. Do a little cool down. We'll do one finisher exercise for back just for fun. A lot of times I like to do just one set, a little more reps, lighter weight, just focus on a good squeeze, get a good pump. It's a nice way to finish off a workout. Here we go. Make sure to keep that arch in the back. Don't round forward. It's halfway. Hey. 2 more. 1 more. Man, I fucking stink. As my wife would say, smell like onions and assholes. All right, stretch it out. And we're gonna do that finisher. Nope. U2 is good for a cool down. All right. So this is an archer pull. Looks just like an archer. You're shooting an arrow up in the air. So this arm's going to stay straight the entire time, about a 45-degree angle. We want to grab the band somewhat close to our hand because we want tension here at the beginning of the range of motion, which is this spot right here. Let me turn a little so you can see what this looks like. And then I'm going to drive that elbow straight back. Now, just like our other back exercises, don't focus on pulling the hand towards you. Focus on driving the elbow back. One more. Now you're having to isometrically fire all these muscles on the other side to stabilize. So it's not an easy exercise. Here we go. I like to pull right to the side of my chest. Seven. 8. 2 more. Oh, yeah. So since it's back day, I'm going to grab a mat. We're going to do a little conditioning for the back. It's not just conditioning, it's strengthening. Work all these muscles in our low back. It's going to help with our core strength. It's a good one for a lot of people that have low back issues. If you can get in there and condition, strengthen those muscles, do it in a safe way. So I did these the other day. Instead of doing a Superman, which is both arms up, both feet up, this is opposite hand, opposite leg. So left arm, right leg, hold, and then opposite. Hold. There's 2, we're gonna go to 10. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. Let's keep going. 8. 9. 10. Good. Come up to the knees. Plant those hands out in front of you and drop your hips back. You can even creep out to one side. I like to plant my hand and almost like try to pull away from it. Again, getting a nice stretch in the lat. And opposite side. It's a good workout. Anyone that says you can't get a good workout with bands, I guess they just haven't used them enough or haven't applied enough intensity in their workouts. All right. So that's a wrap for today. Tuesday, back and biceps. We're going to come back Thursday. We got a leg day with bands. So tomorrow, Wednesday, is our active rest day. So that doesn't mean sitting around on your ass. It means get out there, do something. 30 minutes of activity, even if it's going for a walk, going for a bike ride, do something. You know, go out there, cardiovascular health, burn some calories, move. So I will see you Thursday.